All right, we're going to look at what is really the best under 8-inch or right around 8-inch e-ink tablet that you can buy today. So we're going to be comparing the iFLYTEK AINOTE Air 2, the reMarkable Paper Pro Move, and the Supernote Nomad. These are the three small ink devices that I currently own. I know there's a few others out there that could be in the running, but to be honest, I think these are the best ones on the market right now. The AINOTE Air 2 is very similar to the VWoods AI Mini. So if you're familiar with that one, there's going to be a lot of similarities. And a lot of what I like about this tablet can be applied to that one as well. This is going to be very much an overview of all of them and not getting into the nitty-gritty specifics of processors and things like that. If you're curious what those processors are, they're all going to be on screen right now. So these are the technical spec differences between each of these models, but I'm not going to dive into them any more than this right now, besides maybe talking about storage. So both the iFLYTEK and the Supernote devices have 32 gigabytes of storage, with about 10 gigs used from all the system data and stuff like that. As you can see, the actual space used on the iFLYTEK here is very minor, and I know it's a similar story with the Supernote device, but with the reMarkable, it does not show you how much the system takes up, it just shows you how much leftover storage you get. I believe this came with 64 gigabytes of internal storage, which means almost 20 gigabytes was used up by the system. So that's kind of a lot, to be honest. It still has more usable storage than both of these devices. So for once, reMarkable is actually ahead in a tech spec, which is a lot for this. Now we're going to go over some of the physical differences. So let's turn these all around and you'll see they're all designed pretty stinking differently. There's not a lot of similarities between any of these ones. Let's talk about the Supernote Nomad here first. And it has this really cool clear plastic back. You can get this in white plastic as well, and I'll show some B-roll of that here. It is a nice option if you want a cleaner look, but this is for those nerds out there who love seeing all the internals kind of laid out, and I really do like the clear plastic back. It also just reveals how repairable this device is. You can easily unscrew this back, get to the battery, get to the motherboard. You can expand the storage with an SD card right there. I believe up to a terabyte or two you can get to it. It's just really user repairable and got lots of nice features that way. Built to last, this thing is. Then you get to the reMarkable, which is kind of almost in between the two of them, which is, again, kind of odd for reMarkable here, but it actually also has a plastic back here, not all aluminum like the Paper Pro was, which means when you take it to a repair shop, if anything happens to it, they can actually open it from behind to get to some of the components versus only having to go through the screen. So that is definitely an improvement for repairability. It is still not something that you as a user can easily replace yourself. You're still probably going to want to take it to a technician to do that, but it is a nice upgrade nonetheless. And with that plastic back, it lessens the weight of the device and does not really change the premium feel of it, as this metal rail that is all around it is still incredibly well made and looks like a stack of pages almost, and how it's machined. And the stylus by far has one of the strongest magnetic connection out of any stylus that I've ever tried on the e-ink tablet. And then on the iFLYTEK here, it's the only one that has a camera and has basically this full camera bump section that goes along the backside here. And that means even with the camera bump, it's never unstable on a table, which I think is a good way of doing it for a tablet especially. It is by far the thinnest out of the three here. The reMarkable is the next thinnest, but this is definitely thinner than that one, and it's definitely thinner than the Supernote here. And it looks the most modern in the front with very thin bezels, and yeah, it's very machined all aluminum design. Definitely not a super repairable design either, but it is probably the most premium feeling out of the three of them. Magnetic connection for the stylus is still good, but it is not as strong as the reMarkable Paper Pro Move. So I've already talked about the front more of this one, but turning all these devices around, you see those differences from the front. The Supernote Nomad probably has the chunkiest bezels on the side, but these bezels are touch responsive and do certain things and certain gestures, which we'll talk about later. And the reMarkable has relatively even bezels until you get to this really big bottom chin, the biggest chin out of all of them. And the top and the bottom are kind of wider as well for the Nomad. So this is only a 7.8 inch screen. This is a 7.3 inch screen, where this is an 8.2 inch screen. So the iFLYTEK definitely has the most screen space, and you can kind of see that right out of the gates here. However, I will say it does have a bigger top bezel and a bigger bottom bezel. It's kind of hidden because they color match part of the bottom bezel to the screen. But this section right here is in fact a bezel, not part of the screen. But like the Supernote, it does have some touch responsiveness that it can do there, and it makes it a little more useful than just being part of the bezel. And if you noticed, I didn't try to attach the stylus to the Nomad at all during this test, because there is no way to attach the stylus to the Nomad, not with magnets, not with a pen loop, unless you get Supernote's Folio for the Nomad, and that attaches magnetically and gives you a pen loop to store the stylus, which is a nice way of doing it, but basically enforces that you have to get their Folio in order to store their pen with it properly, which may be a downside to some of you out there. All right, so now turning all these devices on, let's just go to their respective home screens. And the one thing you'll notice about the iFLYTEK here is if I just try to tap it and turn it on, it has a passcode on it. They all can put passcodes on the device, but I only have it enabled on the iFLYTEK because it also has a fingerprint scanner, which makes it much more convenient to just open your device. And just like that, I can barely tap on it and it's already opening. I hate trying to type in a passcode every single time I unlock an e-ink device, so I'm just not going to do it unless they have something convenient like a fingerprint scanner. So now let's quickly talk about the screens on all these devices. And I hope you can see this on screen as well as I can here, but the iFLYTEK definitely has the widest display out of the three of them. It's significantly wider than the reMarkable Paper Pro Move, and definitely still wider than the Supernote, though not as significantly. Now, the main reason the reMarkable looks so much grayer is the fact that it is a color screen, as you can kind of see by the thumbnail here. And this is a color palette from when I tested it with the Penstar eNote. But yeah, it can definitely show color on the display, where neither of these two devices can do that. It also does have front light capability, which it doesn't show up much in like daylight settings or intense lighting conditions, but definitely helps if you want to keep reading or taking notes at night. But the iFLYTEK does have a front light, and you can crank it up pretty high, and you can adjust the coolness and the warmth, where you don't get any of those settings on the reMarkable or anything like that. So that is a really nice option to have in low light conditions or at night. Honestly, this is a fantastic little device to keep by your bed, to read some books or things like that, because you can actually access the entire Google Play Store once you certify your device and download whatever book app you want to download, or the Bible app or anything like that. You could download all that from this device, which is really handy. You can sideload in the Supernote and get some of that stuff. It also has the Kindle app as an option right out of the gate, but there are still limitations to sideloading, and sideloading is honestly a pain on the Supernote devices. It's doable, but it's a pain, where having a full Google Play Store for those who want stuff like that is really nice. And you get nothing like that on the reMarkable. In fact, it can only support PDFs and EPUBs. That's the only file type you're getting on this device. Like, I had to convert this image to a PDF just to import it onto my reMarkable device. Both the Supernote and the iFLYTEK are 300 ppi screens. Let's just go to a nice page full of notes here. And I'm not sure how well it will show up on camera here, but there is just a little more sharpness and resolution on these two devices. It's not bad though. This reMarkable Paper Pro Move is their highest resolution device yet, probably just because it's so small, at 264 ppi, which is actually the same as like an iPad Pro. So it's not sharp, so don't get that idea either. It is plenty, but these are technically better at that. But the contrast is definitely superior on these other two devices. I mean, look at how much sharper the black is here on the Supernote versus this bluish color. All of this is supposed to be written in black. That is black that I'm writing in. And it definitely has a very blue hue to it. And then here again on the iFLYTEK, probably even more contrast here because of the wider display. Although I think I like how the black looks on the Supernote the best. I think this still looks almost duller of a black than Supernote. It's a really nice sharp display they're using there. Probably because of no front light and no color, this one's getting the best sharpness on the e-ink. So next I want to compare the writing feel between each device. And I think none of them are bad, and that's really good. The Supernote definitely, especially if you use their ceramic nibs, gives a pen on like a pad of paper feeling. It was really, really pleasant to write on. I am a huge fan of it. I love this Lamy or Lamy pen that gives it a nice ergonomic grip, and you're really close to the nib. I like being very close to where I'm writing, and that is great to use. It feels fantastic. Technically, this stylus technology and the one on the iFLYTEK is the same. Although it's not really rated for a ceramic tip, it should be fine. There is a film on the screen. It's not directly the glass, so I would feel okay about writing on it with a ceramic nib, but just know it's technically not advertised to do that. Definitely do not do it on the reMarkable. You will scratch the screen if you push hard with this tip, as it is actually a textured glass, not a film or anything. So yeah, it will scratch right through that glass. Don't do that. And it doesn't even work on there anyway because reMarkable has their own stylus technology that is proprietary, and their writing feel is very unique. There's lots of noise to it, and it definitely feels like writing on paper. They do a very good job of that. I would say it probably feels the most like a mechanical pencil on paper to me. If I had to give it a certain feeling, that's how I would pick for it. And then the iFLYTEK is kind of in the middle. This has more of that similar texture to reMarkable, probably almost closer to the reMarkable 2. But yeah, it's just a film on top of a glass screen, so it doesn't give as much as the Feel Right 2 film that actually has some play on the Supernote here. So it feels more like that one sheet of paper, but depending on the tip you get for it, it can feel a little more pen-like, and it just can kind of depend on that feeling. But yeah, you can also use this over here, and then this feels a little more pencil-like. But yeah, it is definitely more made for this screen. I think both these styluses feel best on their native screen technologies. I have no problem with any of their writing feel. They all have that paper-like feeling to them. I would say the reMarkables is probably the best as far as recreating the exact tactile feedback from paper and sound of paper. But the writing feel that I prefer the most is probably Supernote, as I am a fan of the pen feeling more, and their ceramic tip never needs to be replaced, where both of these other ones definitely will wear down. So I think they're the best in writing feel for me. So then we're going to talk about the software, mostly the writing tools between these. And this is where Supernote just destroys the competition. I mean, the amount of tools you even see right on the side here is great. They don't actually have a lot of different styles of pens, but you can customize the sizing of them. You can go across the grayscale of what they represent, and then you have a marker or the highlighter basically as well. So that's the core tools are there, but what's the interesting part is you have stickers you can put into place, and you can actually save certain parts of your handwriting as stickers, or use some of their built-in stickers and just add these to your devices here, and they look great, and they can add a little pizzazz and fun to your writing. And if you see all these options here, you can copy, you can move, you can cut, you can make it into a heading and add it into your table of contents, and there it is. You can also see this link here and use one of the gestures, which you put two fingers on one of these sidebars, and now this turns into a selection eraser, or you put two fingers on the screen, and now this is a lasso selection tool. And I selected that, and I can turn it into a link. You can choose from a couple different styles, and then you can link to a different page, a different file, or even a web page. So I can link this to grafxtech.com, click OK there. And now if I tap this link, it takes me with Supernote's built-in web browser right to grafxtech.com. And look at that. You could buy a pen loop for the Supernote Manta right on my website. How convenient is that? Shameless product plug aside, that is a fantastic tool, and with so much flexibility, you don't even have a built-in browser on reMarkable, and you don't have those in-note linking system on either of these other devices. Not working that fluidly. In fact, just looking at the lasso selection tool, all you can do is cut, copy, and convert text to handwriting. You do have tags and layers and stuff on here, but it's just not quite the same. And you do have layers on the Supernote as well, and you can add text just like the reMarkable, so you can do new text boxes, you can move those all around, add custom fonts, do so much with that, and they're really improving their Bluetooth keyboard support, so you can have those connected and paired, which I have full videos on the text functionalities of this device. I'm not going to go too much more into that now, but then there's even more options that they didn't have room to fit in that sidebar. So lots of choices and flexibility on the Supernote side of things, and just the most powerful lasso selection tool that I've ever seen. So this is how you can convert it to a sticker as well. You can make it into an event or a task. You can recognize it as text just like the reMarkable. You can convert it into a digest, which if you're curious on digest, again, I encourage you to explore all my videos on the digest functionality, but basically it's just a research assistant tool. So I can't help but give this category of software, and especially in the context of note-taking tools, to the Supernote device. It is hands down the best at it. reMarkable has more options when it comes to kinds of pens and things like that, and it has the color obviously on this device, but I don't find it having all the tools that I need in my workflow. Now, having infinite scrolling in your notes is huge. Neither of these other devices have that, and I cannot express how much I want Supernote to put infinite scrolling on their devices. Please, 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 please. It's so handy. Even if it only worked with the built-in templates, I don't really care. It would just be a fantastic option to have on this platform. Same with iFLYTEK, they don't have infinite scrolling either. It's just not a thing. You have to swipe between pages, which isn't terrible. I don't want to say that like it's the worst thing in the world. It's just not as convenient as being able to just scroll down your page and get more space. That is really nice to have on the reMarkable platform. And then on the iFLYTEK here, there's a couple standout features. It does have a decent selection of different pen tools, but doesn't even have a real highlighter tool, which I find really lacking on this device. So honestly, when it comes to pen note-taking tools, it's where this device starts to lack. And I say that with a heavy heart because I love a lot of this device. I love the screen. I love the build. I love how it works at night with that front light. And I actually really like this quick note functionality too, where you can swipe from this icon to the left and it pulls up this quick note document that you can clear or send off or whatever. But it's just a nice way to jot something down without opening a brand new note. And it just doesn't cover your whole screen. It just pops up. You take a note and you can close it, and they're always there for you. Super handy. Now, other lasso selection tools aren't actually that bad. So for example, I can hold down the button here and use the smart selection, and I can make it a to-do. I can AI search it or things like that, or I can draw a triangle with it, and then this becomes a heading in its table of contents. Now to access that, you just tap on the name of the note here, and you can see the table of contents and tap on them and go to that page, things like that. So it is a nice organizational tool, and there's a couple other functions it can do as well. You can draw a star to mark attention to it, and then you can draw a circle to also turn it into a to-do. So I think it's definitely a more powerful lasso selection tool than reMarkable's, but the lack of a highlighter, and you can't select a section of text and just convert that to text either. So those functionalities are definitely not there. I think there's some work that iFLYTEK could do to their Notes app to get it up to the standard that the other ones have here. When it comes to smart tools and things, they're really on point, but I would like to see just some better standard note-taking tools as well. I will say though, their larger device, the iFLYTEK AI Note 2, does fix a lot of those problems and does have a true highlighter tool and things like that. So this is just a case with their smaller device, which I wish they would just update it to that software. But the biggest advantages to the iFLYTEK software is one, having a built-in AI tool, which you may love, you may hate, but it's here and ready to help you. And it has actually been pretty nice to use. Like, it worked well explaining the Book of Acts to me. It's just pretty nice having that flexibility of asking AI chatbot some questions if you want to do that. It also uses that AI power to do its text recognition, so it should be pretty accurate here. So if I were to tap the OCR here, it does a pretty nice transcription of these pages, and you could even export it and all that kind of stuff. And then one of its biggest features is that it can be an AI voice recorder and gives you summaries as well. So I think part of that is why the note-taking side of things might be a little lackluster. They're kind of expecting you to use it alongside some of these other AI features with it, and it definitely does improve it and make you feel a little more worthwhile in using this device. And yeah, I really do like the transcription. I mean, look at how accurate that is working. You can write at certain points as well, and it will cut back to those points when you stop the video, or the recording, I should say. So let's stop this recording, and if I tap on this section, there it goes. It goes right back to that. It does have built-in speakers and microphones to do all this stuff here. And you can hit the AI button and do a meeting summary. So a very powerful voice recorder functionality as well with this device, but that's only going to be a certain kind of person that will want those features. So if you're into all those AI functionalities and features like that, well, the software of this device is going to be really appealing to you. I think I did a pretty good summary there as well. And there's one more feature software-wise of this device that I think gives it a leg up above the others, and that is simply that Google Play Store support. So when you get it, it's not completely certified, but you can finish the certification of it, and then you have access to all the Google Play apps. You can sign into it, and then all of the apps that require Google Play Store to work properly will work on this Android device. That's really all it is. It's an Android device here. So I think that is a nice option to have. It makes getting other kinds of apps way more feasible and actually makes sense than trying to sideload like on the Supernote. It's just a pain. So that is the differences between these three devices, besides one other thing. The form factor of the reMarkable Paper Pro Move is its advantage. There is, as far as I know, no other at least well-made e-ink device in this exact format, and that means it's even more pocketable, not really for pants pockets, mostly for like jacket pockets and things like that, and it definitely fits that well. Now, is that really important to you guys? I don't know. You'll have to make that decision on your own. I also think that in landscape mode, because of its dimensions, it basically becomes the same width as a 10-inch e-ink tablet, where these ones are not quite that wide, but fractionally so. I mean, it's really, really scarcely different. In fact, when it comes to the iFLYTEK, it may not really be much different at all. No, in fact, the iFLYTEK is actually still wider in landscape mode. So not a huge difference between these devices. But with the infinite scrolling of the reMarkable, it definitely makes landscape mode, I feel like, a lot more usable than either of these other two devices. If that's your use case, if you need something that's pocketable and things like that, then this is already setting the reMarkable way ahead of the other two. And you're just going to have to decide if those downsides that come along with the reMarkable are worth it for the form factor. And for some of you, it very well might be. For me, though, it's not, because I don't actually need to pocket my device very often. I have a bag with me almost 24/7, so either of these other devices are perfectly fine. And I actually have put both of them in pockets before, so depending on your jackets and your pants and stuff like that, you may be able to pocket these ones anyway. thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was able to show you which of these 3 e-ink tablets you should go for if you're looking for a small e-ink device. And obviously, price has a factor as well. So actually, the Nomad is about the cheapest one on this list, but then you kind of have to add on a stylus and the folio, so it starts to not be quite as cheap. The reMarkable Paper Pro Move is $450 with the base stylus, another $50 if you want this stylus that gives the eraser, and then even more if you want a folio. So you're looking at around the $500 mark on average for this device. And then I believe the iFLYTEK AI Note 2 is actually on sale right now. So this might be the one to go for, but it's still not cheap. All these devices are going to be over $500 for the most part if you're wanting full accessories and things like that. And if you're curious about them exactly, they're all going to be linked in my description below with their exact prices right now. So please definitely check them out. And of course, comment below if you have any of these devices and which one you think wins in your book. And I think I would actually pick the Supernote Nomad over all of these for on average of what I would use this device for. On average, it's a note-taking device first and foremost, and I think it does those functions the best. Very close behind is the reMarkable, actually. And I would put the AI Note last in note-taking. If your use case, though, involves that AI voice recorder and some of the AI functionality of this device, or e-reading just as much as note-taking, with that front light and things like that, then this will win for you. And then, of course, if you need that really pocketable device, that's where you go with the reMarkable. If you're enjoying the new setup that I have here, all my equipment is going to be linked in the description down below. And as always, guys, have a great rest of your day.